screen. It's getting pretty lengthy with WIOA. Again, we've broken that into different tabs. So 5 different tabs. The first 2 are shown here, and they're grouped together based on the type of data field. So we have exit and attainments. As far as credential attained on and diploma, GED, or certificate attained on fields, okay? We are going to add a business rule that will be effective July 1st, that the date that either one of those credentials were attained cannot be greater than 1 year past the system exit date. And if the system exit date has already occurred, then we will not allow you to enter a date attained that is more than 1 year after the system exit. If the system exit has not occurred, then we will only report the date attained if it was attained within 1 year after the system exit. The rest of the fields on the WIOA status screen are the same as what you see now. Okay, and the next is the next 2 tabs, employment status at exit and school status at exit. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those fields. I know you're already familiar with those. And then plan gaps, future services, and miscellaneous. Again, your miscellaneous tab includes the optional data fields, which I know a lot of you rely on. Any questions on the status before we move to the cool part? Okay, yeah. And that's a good question. So the question was, how do you navigate from tab to tab? And I want to also tell you how you would save, okay? So to navigate from tab to tab, you just click on the different tabs themselves, and you're going to see through some of the screenshots that the tab is colored. So it's either, it was yellow when we did the screenshots, and you'll see later in the presentation that we have changed them to green. But just simply click on the different tabs. But most importantly, at the bottom, you're familiar with the buttons that are at the bottom, submit, insert, etc. When you click submit, because the screen used to be a long screen and it's broken into different tabs, when you click submit, that saves all the information from all of the tabs. Okay, you don't have to go from one tab, submit, tab number 2, submit, tab number 3, submit, and so on. It's not each individual tab. It's really, because it's part of the same screen, submit means insert or update all the data fields on all of the tabs. Does that answer your question? Okay.
If the scenario you were talking about is maybe you've only completed the first 2 tabs of 5 and you want to leave that screen and come back and do data entry, you're going to really have to submit that in order to save the information that you've already put in, or else the next time you come back, if you haven't submitted it, haven't saved it, etc., you could lose that information. So you want to complete your data entry and submit it before you leave that page to do something else.
Okay, moving on to the outcome screen. Outcome screen for adult and DW, you're probably familiar with it, but on the left side you're going to see the first quarter after exit, data collection fields. The 3 additional fields that are relevant to the first quarter are still relevant to the first quarter with WIOA. And then on the right side you're going to see the screenshot has the second quarter after exit, but it's really the same data fields that are collected for the second, third, and fourth quarters. And now we have a modernized outcome screen. First, you're going to see up top the header, and then the common measures link that Joe had talked about earlier. If you mouse over the common measures link, you'll see fields that are included on the common measures banner. So that's the latest registration, exited on if it's an exited individual, exit reason, number of open activities, which would be 0 for exited participants, and then the latest activity. And then you'll see the outcome screen also has been broken into tabs. The first one is the outcomes by quarter, and you're going to see a new table format here, and you're probably used to calculating exits after quarter by now, okay? But the best news is you don't have to, you can get rid of your calendars on your desk and whatever that calculates your quarters after exit, because we have now calculated it for you. So what I mean by that is this exit occurred during January of 2015, okay? So most of us are programmed to think, okay, the first quarter after exit starts April and ends in June, okay, and so on. Instead of you figuring out the dates of the quarters after exit, we have now figured that for you, and you'll see the post-quarter exit is 1, and then the relevant dates for the post 1 quarter, and so on. Okay. And let's say, for example, we click on the Create button, okay? Clicking on the Create button for the first quarter after exit will show you all of the data fields that you're familiar with now that are required for the first quarter after exit. So let's say, for instance, your customer is employed the first quarter after exit. So because they're employed first quarter after exit, you still have to fill in the same fields like employer name, ONET code, training-related employment, non-traditional employment, etc. No rules have changed as far as that's concerned. It's just a new look and modernized as to what it is, will be come July 1st. Okay, and let's say we save that example, and then you'll see the date the record was created. So in this case, I entered this information back on June 9th. And so it will automatically put to the day that you created the record and paste it in the table in the record created on column. And then employed, you'll see the person is employed, and you'll also see action column. Instead of seeing create, it will say view update. That indicates that there is information that you can see by clicking on the view update. The important part is you can change the information at any time. You can validate the information as long as the quarter has started. So like right now, you won't be able to enter in information for the quarter that starts October of 15, okay? Yeah. Oh, up top? No, actually, what is listed in the header when you go to this screen is the registration date. However, if you mouse over the See Details link there, a new banner will show up, and one of the fields is the exit date as long as it's an exited participant. Yeah. That's a wonderful question. As long as your person that is dual enrolled in dislocated worker, for instance, and trade, and they are linked to the same common measures participation, then yes, the information that you put on the WIOA dislocated worker outcome screen will automatically populate to the TAA outcome screen like it does now. Okay? Yes, that's assuming they're on the same common measures participation. The same common measures billboard, yes. Yes. Into the next quarter? Well, Well, you're stealing my thunder here. Okay.
Asking whether or not the wage record information will change that from a no to a yes.
Oh,
on the outcome
and
screen.
that it won't.
No,
No.
This is really just the manual, whatever you want to call it, supplemental information. So if you've tried to follow up and found out, you know, to the best of your knowledge that they're not working, and you put no in the first quarter after exit, but they do have wage record, no, wage record will not overwrite the no that you've put in. When we calculate performance, we'll look at wage record and see that they're employed, and we will count that as a positive performance outcome. But that will not change what you've manually put in the outcome screen. I have a question up here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the question is, if I can make sure I have it correctly. So the person exits in one quarter, and you know that their first quarter after exit is going to be April 1st. They maybe exited middle of January. First quarter after exit is April 1st. But on April 1st, that exit really hasn't occurred yet because the 90 days hasn't gone by, and it hasn't exited retroactively back to January, whatever. You can't put in information in the outcome screen until that system exit occurs. So in your example, on April 1st, no, you wouldn't even be able to get to this screen until that exit occurs. And once it occurs retroactively, then you'll be able to put in information for the April, May, June quarter. It's a good question, though.
So when you have an active participant, and even though it looks like they're going to exit, you know, within the next 90 days or so, when you try to go to the outcome screen, it will still say you cannot access the outcome screen unless the participant has exited.
Right, because I can see that many times you're going to want to exit somebody at the end of a quarter. Might be even more severe, maybe they exit or you end their activities with a March 31st date, and you know they're employed April 1st. You really wouldn't be able to get to that April 1st quarter until 90 days have occurred, and the exit occurs retroactively back to March 31st. You know, that's something we can take a look at to see if there's a way around that, because we certainly want to encourage more real-time data entry. I know oftentimes we don't end our activities until we know that person's been employed for a quarter, and it might not be until July 1st that you go in and try and put in the April 31st end date. Yet we do want to encourage people to put in the April 31st end date just as soon as that service is done. So let us take a look at that. I'm not 100% certain we can change it. I know we won't change it by July 1st, but maybe that's an enhancement that we can make down the road to allow sooner data entry on some of these things.
You'll also see another button in the action column, and that only appears if you have already entered data for a specific quarter. So in this instance, we entered data for the first quarter after exit, and the new button is called Create by Copying Data from Quarter Number 1. So for example, you have a person who is at the same employer, same wage, same everything for 2 quarters in a row. Instead of entering the quarter for the most recent, or entering the information for the most recent quarter, you can simply click that button and the information will be pulled from the most recent preceding quarter that has data into the new quarter that you selected, okay? So let's say, for example, you have data entered for the first and third quarters, and the fourth quarter in this case would say copy data from the third quarter, because it always offers to copy data again from the most recent preceding quarter that has data filled in, okay? You will have the option to enter different data in the quarters by clicking the Create button. But again, the Copy button is available for those that are at a job for 2 quarters in a row with the same information. Again, at any time you can opt to view or update the information with the View Update button. Okay, and then at the top of the outcome screen currently, it just displays information that's pulled from other areas of OSMIS, in this case, information that's pulled from the status screen. So this is how it is now, and this is how it will be on the new tab called Exit Information. So you don't necessarily enter new information in the Exit Information tab, it's just displayed there, so you can check it out if you need to. And then similarly for the Comments tab, will show any comments that you entered on the outcome screen for any of the quarters. Okay, as far as the outcome screen for adult in DW, is there any questions? I know it's quite a bit different than youth, and we'll cover youth a little bit later, but as far as the adult in DW outcome screen,